very concerning, very low likelihood of happening, but in aviation, nothing is taken for granted. And so this emergency airworthiness directive went out instructing airlines to, well, basically update the software in most cases, which they hope will fix the problem. It's come on a Friday night, which of course is going into a busy weekend. Not the worst possible time it could have happened, because actually late November aircraft aren't flying that full. But the problem is that even if it only takes a couple of hours to update the software to remove the problem, which we hope will be the case for most aircraft, it's still, given the intensity with which aircraft are scheduled to fly, it could still lead to delays and possibly cancellations.
The European aviation regulator earlier this evening announced a requirement for some urgent maintenance, some precautionary but urgent maintenance on the Airbus A320 aircraft. Worth adding that it's not all of the A320 aircraft, it's just some of the variants with a particular configuration of them, and it's asked airlines to make sure this maintenance, this precautionary maintenance is done as soon as possible. Well, aviation is one of the safest forms of transport available to people, and I think there should be a high degree of kind of confidence in the aviation sector. This is precautionary, a precautionary approach. And airlines, we've been speaking to the airlines, particularly the UK airlines this afternoon, and they're already well into their planning for implementing these changes. Not all UK airlines fly this particular variant, so not everyone will be affected. There may be some airlines with some impact over the coming days. So our advice to consumers is very much check your airline website, check your airline app, and that's the best way of finding out whether or not your flights are disrupted.
Sure. So from what I can gather, there was a flight from Cancun to New York on JetBlue where, they were a normal cruise flight, and then there was an uncommanded change in altitude. And I gathered that the pilots could, tell that it was not normal turbulence, that, the aircraft pitched down. I'm not sure, how much altitude was lost, but enough such that they diverted to Tampa. And then they were able to trace the issue to some sort of solar flare incident that affected the flight control software on the aircraft. Yeah, the details are a little bit thin, but it sounds like, it's not a long-term grounding of the aircraft like what we're seeing on, on the MD-11 after the crash in Louisville from UPS. But this sounds like a fairly quick, short-term software update. They're actually telling operators to go back to a prior version of the software that may not be as susceptible. And even then, the extent to which certain aircraft are affected may vary. United Airlines has come out and said that their fleet of A320s are not affected. So there may be, certain vintages or so forth that, may have more vulnerability than others. But, this is something that Airbus said that it should be a fix of up to 3 hours. So that's something that can be addressed between flights or on overnight checks. Yeah, definitely not ideal for this to be happening on a very ubiquitous aircraft on a busy holiday weekend. Although again, the silver lining being that, for each aircraft, it only should take a few hours to update the software. The other thing is that, good thing this didn't happen on Tuesday or Wednesday, which are, the busier travel days over Thanksgiving are the days leading up to Thanksgiving and then the Sunday after. So hopefully by even tomorrow that the impact is much more mitigated than it could be. Yep, so the A320 is the primary competitor to Boeing 737. It has been in production since the late 80s. It was updated with a new engine in the mid-2010s, and it's known as the A320neo. It's very similar to its predecessor, but just has updated, larger, more fuel-efficient engines. And I think just as of earlier this year, it became the best-selling aircraft in all time, overtaking the 737. So, almost every type of airline around the world operates it. It's the 737, A320 are equivalent to your yellow cabs of the skies. They're just everywhere. Every type of airline operates them, very fuel efficient, and airlines just love the economics of these aircraft.